This show is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Stop putting your online data at risk. Get protected at expressvpn.com/funhouse.
All right, let's count up.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going after 3 because of the first thing. So, sorry. I'll go
How
on
do we
3
run
this
a
time.
channel? How do we do that?
Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to Filmhaus this week. Today we're talking about The Lonely Island and looking at their filmography and their history. I'm joined by Adam, John, and Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
The Lonely Island experts in the office. I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, how big are you guys into The Lonely Island? What's your history?
Well, I mean, they have such a vast filmography full of different eras. You know, the Saturday Night, like what are we talking about? Specifically, just their whole entire body of work. Huge
We're looking at
fan.
specifically the features.
The features.
Just for the
Big
sake of
fan.
this podcast.
Big fan.
Big fan.
I'm like John. I'm a
Adam?
big fan.
I was an early subscriber to their YouTube channel when they did their sports video. I was unaware they had any movies, so I'm very surprised to be here today. What are we talking about?
Good
What?
stuff.
Wait,
well,
are
if
you
you've never heard
serious?
of Lonely Island, he's joking.
Yeah.
If you've never heard of Lonely Island, they are comprised of 3 individuals, Andy Samberg, Akiva Schaffer, and Jorma Taccone, and they are 3 friends who met in junior high, moved to LA, struggled making short films. It's a tale as old as time. Got discovered at the 2005 MTV Movie Awards when Jimmy Fallon recommended them to Lorne Michaels. They had been writing on the show and instantly got hired to SNL and then had a big breakout with all of their digital shorts like Lazy Sunday, which got parodied by The Office, Mother Lover, Dick in a Box, Jizz in My Pants, I'm on a Boat, Jack Sparrow, YOLO, I Just Had Sex. Those are some of the
Real masters
more,
of their craft.
Yes.
They're masters of that
Just
short
in my
form.
pants. Classic.
So yeah, they kind of skyrocketed that way and then have essentially made the transition to acting, producing, directing in features. And for the sake of today, we're not going to look back at their sketch history as much as look at their features and see maybe there's places where we'll obviously see that that's been a relationship. But we're going to go chronologically and kick it off with Hot Rod from 2007, which I hadn't seen in a long time, probably since 2007. I rewatched it this week, though.
Did you actually
in
see it
preparation.
in theaters, Elise?
No, oh, no.
Yeah, I don't think
I
anyone
didn't. Did you?
No
Yeah,
one really
I don't
did.
think anyone did. No one
I
did.
did. I did.
What?
I did. Yes, even in Memphis, I played at one theater, and I made sure to go see it, and it was awesome.
Was there a lot of people there? Did everyone laugh?
No, there was not
Yeah.
a lot of people, but the people that were there were cracking up because they get
Yeah.
it, man.
I
yeah.
watched this. I watched it years after it had come out. It was back when I was still getting Netflix DVDs, and watching those. And it was one of those movies I just sat there for a while. For the longest time, I couldn't stand Andy Samberg. I don't know what it was. If it was just like I was put off by his face, and I didn't think Dick in the Box was like the funniest thing ever, like everyone thought it was. I was like, this is just SNL trying to be like, hey, fellow kids. So like I was just turned off to the whole thing. And then I watched Hot Rod, and I was like, that was actually a really funny, heartwarming movie. And that was the moment I think it turned over for me, and I stopped being such a dick about it.
Yeah, if you've never seen Hot Rod, it's the story of Rod Kimball, hence the pun title, who is he's a young guy that wants to be a stuntman because he's been told all his life that his dad is Evel Knievel's test rider. So it's not even Evel Knievel, it's Evel Knievel's test rider, which I think is a great joke, who, died a tragic death in the stunt world. And so he wants to kind of like fulfill his memory, but he also really wants to prove a point to his stepdad.
Yeah.
Which is like, I think it's just who's played by Ian McShane, which is also like a really crazy casting when you look back and you think Ian McShane played his stepdad in Hot Rod. And it's got like a great cast alongside it. Isla Fisher plays his love interest, Chris Parnell.
Introduction to Danny McBride for me.
Danny McBride.
Yeah.
Bill Hader's one of his entourage. Sissy Spacek's
too.
his mom. Will Arnett has like a great cameo as Isla Fisher's boyfriend that I love. But it's definitely a movie, like most of their movies, that did poorly at the box office. Even Ryan's Ticket couldn't bolster its its take. It did
I saw it
14
twice.
million.
So
You saw it twice? Oh.
yeah.
Did 14 million on a 25 million budget, but now people look at it like it's a cult classic, which it may have suffered because it came out in a year where it was a PG-13 movie and it was up against movies like Superbad, Knocked Up. It was this advent of the R-rated comedy, and so it was challenging trying to find footing with that new genre.
Yeah. I do think
but
that
now
they
people
were,
love it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is. I don't think people had really warmed to the Lonely Island guys yet, especially Andy Samberg, kind of like you were saying, Adam. That it's kind of like, what are they like? What is this movie? Because it is full, like, just it's so absurd, and it revels in it, and they halt the movie, do some insane absurd skit, and then it just comes back to normal. Like what the whole Cool Beans section. I remember watching that, going like, what is happening right now? Like when I first saw it, and I could see that turning off, people back in 2007, and then now there's, I don't know, it seems like that's the whole cottage industry is just, let's see how stupid and absurd we can make this sketch and see how many tangents it can go on.
The whole forest dance scene, I think, is like when the movie clicked for me. When, oh, I get it. It's they don't take themselves too seriously, and Andy Samberg is aware that he's a doofus. As opposed to, I for the longest time, I thought it was basically, this was like an SNL movie that they're like, here's new Adam Sandler. And they were sort of trying to manufacture and recreate the 90s like dream team that they had. And for whatever reason, I got that vibe off of it. But then the movie's a lot smarter than that. And you see that a lot more in the other movies that they've worked and produced on. But like, this was sort of the beginnings of that, which I really like. I do want to go back and rewatch it, and because Jess hasn't seen it yet, so might watch it this weekend.
It was a little bit of an SNL machination because,
Bill Hader,
Dreamweaver, Lorne Michaels, he kind of went to them and was like, you guys should make a movie. And I think they were all taken aback a little bit, the Lonely Island guys, and were like, what? And he's like, yeah, make this movie. And the original script was written for Will Ferrell. So they don't have a writing credit on it. They left that writing credit exclusive to Pam Brady, who worked on like South Park, Team America, Lady Dynamite. They let her keep full credit, but they did do a rewrite pass on it to give it their voice because they were like, oh, well, there's no way we can make this movie and play it as Will Ferrell. I don't know what happened, I think maybe Will Ferrell maybe like aged out of the role or something.
Kind of a super bad situation, right?
Yeah.
Even though Andy Samberg
like
does he plays a man-child, essentially.
Yeah, he does.
Something I really liked about Hot Rod, and I feel like it's kind of something that exists in their other works, which is that, like Ryan was saying, they're not afraid to just break the reality of the film itself. Even though the film is taking place in, its own reality, they can break out of that and do a completely off the wall thing. Like my favorite sequence from that movie is when Bill Hader is talking about how he got to the hospital or like his night like taking LSD and like they do the whole thing where like he's floating around like he like slides into camera and stuff, and I just remember that whole sequence just being hilarious and like but it totally breaks the mold in the reality of the movie, but they weren't afraid to do that, where I feel like a lot of people are they keep the movie in the reality of the film.
It's very Monty Python in feeling like sketches and segments within a film.
Mm-hmm.
And they're, and especially in the level of silliness, like the, why am I doing what way?
Yeah.
Where Andy Samberg's preparing his stunt and he just starts pronouncing every W with a wha sound. It's like super silly and very Monty Python-esque, where it's like, it's a very base joke.
Yeah.
That just kind of like gets tread in the ground. My favorite joke in the movie is when Isla Fisher storms off. She's with Will Arnett, who's her boyfriend, and he's kind of this like big shot, very condescending to Andy Samberg and his friends. And she's, they have an argument in his car, and so she gets out and she storms away. And then Will Arnett doesn't go after her, but he just keeps screaming, no, don't go. And he's just screaming different iterations of it. And she's not stopping, but he's not actually going after her. And it's so funny. And it goes on for just the right amount of time. It's brilliant. So good.
Yeah.
I remember I actually watched Hot Rod for the first time when I was on a trip for work, but there were also interns. It was like this place where it wasn't a group of friends; it was a group of different people, and we were all watching it, and it was very clear, like, that this was a movie for, like, you know, there's a specific sense of humor in people that like Hot Rod, and I was with people that there were a number of people who didn't like it and didn't get it, but because we were in a foreign country where there was nothing to do, everyone was watching it. And I remember the scene where they're like marching to the final stunt and the music's playing, but then it turns into a riot. Like, that was where me and my friend were like on the floor laughing, but then the other people were just sitting there like, I don't get this. And yeah, it was just very polarizing experience. Like,
yeah, it doesn't present itself as an absurdist movie, but you hit the nail on the head, at least. Like, it is like almost American Monty Python sometimes. Like, I was talking about the forest scene. He falls down that mountain. I was just rewatching it right now. It's like, I think it's about a minute and a half. It just keeps, and then there's just like a long cut of a mountainside, and then his body comes back, and he just keeps going and going and going. It's such a dumb joke.
There were no dummies in this movie. That's a person.
Yeah.
It's funny because people were like, "Oh yeah, you used dummies in the movie," and they were like, "No, those were all actual stuntmen." And one of them actually like broke his femur.
Oh no!
And, like, it was like I think the first stunt that they did, and then he had to go to the hospital, and they were like,
"Oh my god!"
But then apparently the stuntman was like, "Did we get the shot?" Like, he was being, on the stretcher, being wheeled into the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, John, I think a lot of people didn't get this movie, and it's unfortunate because these are the kind of movies that you watch it and you scratch your head when everyone around you is not getting it. And they find a life later.
Mm-hmm.
Akiva Schaffer, who directed it and is part of The Lonely Island, he said, our dream for the movie was that it would be on a Sunday afternoon with commercial breaks, and you'd have to watch it in that 4:3 pan and scan on your TV when it just becomes a little part of your life. Mm-hmm. I think for some people, especially after it got on Netflix, it became that, and that's what makes us happy about it now. And it's unfortunate because a movie like that comes out and you think like, oh, these people should get every opportunity in the world, not recognition 5 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
I think they're doing okay.
Yeah, I think so too.
I get it though. Like, that's a little worrisome, right? Like, it's like, this big time TV producer took a bet on these internet kids where, I mean, even today, that still seems like a gamble, right? Like, anytime you try to transition anyone from television to TV, I think Lonely Island's maybe one of the only ones that's really worked.
Workaholics, It's Always Sunny kind of did that a little too.
Yeah,
not really.
We'll get to it when we talk about like Brigsby Bear, but I do think like Kyle. Oh my gosh, Kyle Mooney.
Yeah, Good Neighbor.
Good Neighbor. Like, they to me are like kind of Lonely Island 2.0. And I guess like Derek Comedy, Donald Glover is like the example out of Derek Comedy, but the
corporate
other
guys, Jake Wiseman and Matt Engelbretson. I don't know.
But it's rare, and I do think that you're right. Like, Lonely Island is the one that has kind of achieved the pinnacle of people don't even really associate them with the internet anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I would say though that Hot Rod is. I don't love it. I think maybe as much as you, Elise. I do think it's great, but
I don't love it.
I love it.
Oh, okay. I thought you loved it.
Oh no! I'll say after what I think, but please go on.
I mean, to me, it's not their best example of there's good bits in it. Is kind of my main take from the movie, but it's like as a whole, I don't know if it kind of works as a whole. To me, MacGruber, the next movie we'll probably talk about, is like a like their style with like actually structured well and totally delivered great. Whereas Hot Rod, I can see your average person, even that is into that kind of comedy, being like, all right, I like that scene, I didn't like that scene. That's kind of my overall take on Hot Rod.
Oh yeah,
it's an 8 or 9 out of 10, not a 10.
Oh,
freshman. Whereas MacGruber's a 10.
Oh yes, when I first saw Hot Rod, I was like, okay, that like I enjoyed that, and I didn't really love Lonely Island, like a little bit of an Adams spot. So I was like, okay, like that was a fun movie. But I was never like, oh, this is, I mean, MacGruber right away for me, like you're saying, was a 10 out of 10. But with Hot Rod, I've come to appreciate more, like you're saying, not the movie is in its entirety, but those isolated bits where then I've seen them reposted on Reddit or whatever over the years. And I'm like, oh, that's so funny. Mm-hmm. And then looking back, knowing now that was kind of like Lorne Michaels pushing them to make a feature after they had been at SNL for like a year. I'm like, oh, that was ambitious and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should get to the cream of the crop because MacGruber also I should specify when it comes to the Lonely Island features that I selected, I focused on the filmography where they seem to have possessed like a good deal of creative control, or they had a really prominent presence in the production. So like a movie like The Watch, where I think just either Jorma Taccone or Akiva Schaffer directed it. Not really going to talk about that because it's not really a Lonely Island. You know, there aren't that many arms part of that production as there are on some of these other ones. So MacGruber is one of those where it's almost like a hybrid because the actual script is written by Will Forte and then John Solomon, who's his like classic writing partner. And then Jorma Taccone from Lonely Island helped them write it. He directed it and Lorne Michaels produced it. So it's kind of like, you know, there's Lonely Island influence, but it's still very much like a Will Forte influence.
So would you say then the only true Lonely Island film is Hot Rod?
No, I would say Popstar is like
I
the
would say
quintessential.
Popstar.
Okay. Oh yeah. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
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 You're right.
I
Those
had
two.
no idea. I just don't. I only recognize Andy Samberg's name typically when I see Lonely Island. Akiva and Jorma are like kind of more background guys. I know they do on camera stuff too, but like they're not as front and center as Andy Samberg is. So I actually didn't know until right now that they worked on MacGruber. I was waiting what the big reveal was. That I was like, how is Lonely Island connected to MacGruber? Did they do the soundtrack or something? And now, like, oh, I had no idea that he directed it. It makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a lot of
yeah.
Jorma Taccone, but I feel like we'd be remiss not to include this because MacGruber is just such a fucking perfect movie.
To me, Jorma is like, even though Andy's the face, Jorma to me is the main. If he's directed it, that's as much of a Lonely Island movie to me. In my warped mind of how I think of them. But
If you've never seen MacGruber, it came out in 2010, and it follows the American hero MacGruber, who has earned the rank of Green Beret, Navy SEAL, and Army Ranger. He's a special op whose fiance was killed, and now he's seeking revenge against Dieter von Kunth,
of course,
his sworn enemy. And MacGruber is like kind of the same thing as Hot Rod, where it was made on a $10 million budget, and you know it had a $200,000 VFX budget, but it made no money.
Yeah.
And it like didn't push the needle at the time in terms of people saying like, I love this movie. But then later has become a huge classic through like cable and streaming. And critics have gone back, I've seen, and like actually rewritten their stance on MacGruber. They're like, we did MacGruber wrong, and I fully agree.
It's
because-
important.
It's like
that they
it's
did
like a
that.
word of mouth movie too. I mean, that's how I discovered
Yeah.
it. I thought it was just based on that SNL sketch that I had never seen, but I thought it was just like a one trick pony where they're making fun of MacGyver, and then I think James and Elise are like, no, MacGruber's funny. You should watch it. And yeah, it's one of the funniest movies I've seen in the last 10 years.
The cream
Yeah, in a
rises
way,
to the top.
I think they described it.
Just saying, like, even if a movie has bad box office first opening weekend, you know, the good movies, people will discover them, and then we're talking about them 10 years later like they're fucking masterpieces. That's all.
And I think that was also a situation where Lorne Michaels was like, we should make this movie. And there had been, 10 sketches in a Pepsi Super Bowl commercial, and everyone was kind of like, what? But Lorne Michaels, I guess, he knows what he's doing.
A true visionary.
Or not really. I mean, his movies don't make money notoriously.
But they're cult
Ladies
classics.
Man, Pat, Stuart Smalley. I've seen so many SNL movies that are not great.
I forgot about Pat. They made a movie of Pat.
It's
Pat.
Pat the movie.
That's always the joke I say, that I want my Pat. Anytime I do a character in Funhaus.
A sort of okay chuckle joke that they stretch out for like an hour and 45 minutes. Whereas MacGruber is, it doesn't seem like it should have as many legs, because you're like, he's just kind of like MacGyver, but I still haven't actually seen a single MacGruber sketch. I've only seen the movie.
Oh man, the sketches are awesome.
But
Sketches are great.
I'm guessing it's like he's not the same. He's not exactly the same character, because like MacGruber's such a hard R. He's so vulgar, and insane.
The sketches are great because they follow such a strict formula. You know what's going to happen when they start, but it's just always funny. The punchline, you got to see them in a row. They're really.
yeah.
Okay.
It's basically the beginning, the bookends of the movie is what a MacGruber sketch is.
Okay.
Am I remembering right that like they would break them up on SNL? So like throughout the episode, it would play in chunks.
I want to say that they
remembering
get
that
killed
wrong?
at the end of every part, but then they'd still be alive. Maybe. I don't know. Spoiler alert: they die every time.
Oh, it's okay.
The casting for MacGruber is super interesting because you've got like Kristen Wiig in it. Maya Rudolph is in it because she was always in the original MacGruber sketches. But then like two very serious actors, or I guess not known for comedy, Ryan Felipe and Val Kilmer. Ryan Felipe plays sort of I guess he's like I don't know what his title is in the movie, but his character is like also a soldier, a decorated soldier who gets paired with MacGruber.
He looks
on this
up.
mission,
He looks up to MacGruber. Like MacGruber's this like myth that this like folklore that floats. I mean, and then also Powers Booth, who's in it, who is like, I know he's a character actor.
Oh
but
yeah,
like,
Powers Booth.
just the perfect, like not a single joke from like three of the actors who are in it, but they're funny the whole way through because they play it straight and it's perfect.
Yeah. I think Seth Meyers like worked a little bit in writing it too, and he talked about how Val Kilmer and Powers Booth would tell stories about working on Tombstone together during the production, which is like super silly and weird. But yeah, as they tell it, Val Kilmer just kind of came in and cold read at the table read and blew everyone out of the water.
Of course.
Which as serious as he seems to take himself, I think it's really cool that he was down.
Oh yeah.
To do this part.
This is his best role, in my opinion.
Well,
You think MacGruber is best Val Kilmer?
Give me another one.
He's the villain who's fed up with the idiot. He's like the only person who initially can see through MacGruber's BS. And he's sort of annoyed why no one else can. And he talks to him like a child. But then like by the end of the movie, he sort of becomes what he didn't want to be, which is it's like the villain that MacGruber saw him as. I was like, he almost becomes like a parody of himself. But it's almost like MacGruber is like an abusive boyfriend or something, and he makes people into what he wants them to be. MacGruber is not the hero, is why I think I really like the movie. He is almost the villain every time. God.
Yeah, they do a really good job of building out that story beyond just being the one note joke of the sketch.
Yeah, for real.
And then also structuring kind of like how Hot Rod just has like bits and segments within it, like having stuff like the celery, the license plate number.
Oh my God,
the van blowing,
plate.
having just all these like amazing comedic scenes. And the license plate, I guess they didn't really figure that out until later, what they wanted to do with that.
Oh, huh. I like every time he goes anywhere, he takes his CD player out. Because he's worried someone will steal it from his Miata. There's just enough ongoing dumb little jokes that they sprinkle through that like it's just the back-to-back sex scenes that they do that has ruined all action movie sex scenes.
Yeah. God. It's so good. And I guess
it's just coming back to me scene by scene.
Oh, I'm sorry, John, you haven't seen it. I'm sorry.
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
Yeah,
supposed
sorry.
to watch
I've been silent. But
it's
you're
fine.
really selling me on it.
it. Man, I'm sorry. I don't want to give away too many of the scenes, but like, God, I think the movie takes what 35, maybe 40 minutes before it really starts going because there's like a tonal shift in the movie, and that's like when it really gets it sets itself up in a way, and then the scene, John, you already know, happens, and then it's sort of MacGruber going in like. It's like him sort of like desperate, like, no, give me a chance. I need to do this. And he's such a sad character.
He's pathetic.
I love Will Forte. Will Forte always goes in that, no, like that high-pitched voice. It's so good.
God. He does it so often in this movie. And he flips on it too. I remember there's a part where he's like, just give me a chance. He goes, fuck you. And I'm sorry. Like he just his reaction is just to yell "fuck you" to everybody.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm just really sorry. I didn't mean to do that." It's just always talks with his list, and you can't take him serious, but he's so good. Anyway.
It's like the immediate like defensive reactionary flying off the handle and then apologize.
Yeah.
Like meekly apologizing.
God.
One-
Anyway.
John, would it sell you more on it if I told you that Christopher Nolan is a huge MacGruber fan?
Hey,
Like huge.
that sounds pretty. What did he have to say about it?
Well, he was invited to the upcoming table read of the series that's coming out soon.
Oh, there's
he
a
couldn't make it. Yeah.
He based Tenet off of MacGruber.
Yeah, MacGruber backwards is MacGruber. But he sent them a really sweet email, and he said, though I can't be there in person to watch you take the first step of your odyssey, know that my spirit soars with you. And whilst it's perhaps unfair to add to the great sense of responsibility you must already feel, I am duty bound to tell you the world is waiting, the world is watching.
Wow.
I know, I love that.
Epic.
This episode of Filmhaus is brought to you by Mack Weldon. I have been a fan of Mack Weldon for a very, very long time. I started the transition of trying to get all of my underwear to become Mack Weldon underwear a couple years ago, and I am continuing that journey to this day. The best thing about Mack Weldon is they believe in smart design, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. The shopping experience is only a handful of clicks. I actually like going to their website to browse. They have more than just underwear, by the way. They have joggers, shirts, socks, basically everything you could need to cover your entire body in Mack Weldon, which is what I want to do. I want to be like one of those knights from the Dark Ages, only instead of armor, I'm covered in Mack Weldon. Why? Because Mack Weldon is the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants, and more that you will ever wear. They have a line of silver underwear that are naturally antimicrobial, which basically means that even if you stink, they won't stink. You should still take a shower and clean yourself and probably wash the underwear. But just in case you have a long day, by the end of it, you might stink, but your underwear absolutely will not. They want you to be comfortable, so if you don't like your first pair of underwear, you can keep it, and they will still refund you, no questions asked. Not only does Mack Weldon's underwear, socks, and shirts look good, they perform well too. I only wear Mack Weldon's when I work out. That sounds extreme, but I am telling you, I only wear Mack Weldon's when I work out. I've worn other kinds of underwear in the past, and they will bunch up when you're doing exercises, or they'll stick to you, or you'll feel disgusting afterwards. But with Mack Weldon's, I don't. I feel fine. I feel ready to go about my day. I feel sorry for everyone who has to sit next to me and smell my armpits, but everything else feels really good. Also, just so you know, the folks over at Mack Weldon have created their own totally free loyalty program called Mack Weldon Blue. I need to figure out what level I am, because level 1 gets you free shipping for life, and once you reach level 2, by spending $200, which I totally have, I'm going to have to check into this, Mack Weldon will start giving you 20% off every order for the next year. I mentioned earlier that I've been transitioning all of my underwear to Mack Weldon's for some time. More recently, they introduced the Air Knit X style of underwear, and now I'm worried that I'm going to have to transition all of my standard Mack Weldon underwear to Air Knit X, because I honestly don't feel comfortable in anything else. It's the best pair of underwear I've ever worn. I have purchased 5 pairs for myself in only the last few months, so they're totally worth it. I am a huge fan of this brand. I'm a huge fan of this underwear, and I want to basically make sure you're aware of it. But the best part of all this is that even though I am a fan, I have something to offer you, the viewer at home. For 20% off your first order, you can visit mackweldon.com/filmhouse and enter promo code FILMHOUSE. That means that you're going to get the most comfortable pairs of underwear, shorts, shirts, socks, basically anything that you can put on your body for 20% off. If you go to mackweldon.com/filmhouse, I highly recommend you checking them out. They are my favorite pair of underwear, and I highly recommend them.
One thing I can contribute to the MacGruber conversation is I did see a BTS video from drummer Takone. Is that how you say his last name?
I don't know.
I say it different every time.
It was about 12 seconds long. They go to like this lot, and he goes, "Hey, we're gonna test some guns from MacGruber," and then it's like 6 frames each of him firing each gun. And then he's like, "All right, thanks." And then it was like a 12-second video. And I remember it being really funny. And then I didn't see
sounds awesome.
MacGruber.
One thing I can contribute is, do you guys have a guess on what the budget and box office for MacGruber is?
I know what the budget is because it's in the document that Elise gave us, and I'm reading it
That's
right
not
now.
fair.
Okay.
Well, I had the budget at 10 million, but
Yep.
I'd love to know because I know that it was competing against Shrek Forever After
Oof.
at the box office.
Ouch.
That's rough. That's
It was
what-
9.3 million, so huge bomb, kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know they're supposed to be making, what is it? It's a Amazon series or Netflix series.
Or no, a sequel, I thought. Or is it a series?
They're
Maybe.
making a series, I believe.
That's amazing.
We went and saw that movie. Which one was it? The paranormal one, Elise? I'm
Watch?
blanking on it. No. It was earlier this year, the New Zealand one. Either
Oh my
way,
gosh.
he's in it. He's great.
It's a really sweet movie.
Paranormal or something.
Extraordinary?
Extraordinary. That's the one. Yes. And he's in it. He's fantastic. He's not the main character, but he definitely helps. But someone asked about MacGruber at the screening, and similar to Hot Rod, he said, that we're really proud of the movie. It's the one we wanted to make, and I think he said they have the scripts done, or they're almost done. This is a while ago for the series, and obviously with the way the world is right now, things are slowing down. But there is still a potential MacGruber series, in that same style, because like The Expanse and a bunch of other shows and like Dark Crystal, these are things that didn't, really find a home where they were, but there is enough of a fan base to keep them going. So yeah, I'll take more MacGruber like that. That'd make me very happy. God.
Something else I would take a sequel to is what I consider to be their magnum opus, 2016's Popstar.
Yeah,
Never
that's
Stop,
great.
Never Stopping. Like, I think this is a perfect movie. And again, man, like Lonely Island just has a track record of, their box office
Yeah.
is a dud, but then they find that later life. So it was $9 million budget. Or sorry, pardon me, it was a $20 million budget. They only grossed $9 million on it,
Ouch.
which is
Zoinks.
criminal because it's such a funny movie. It's like it's such a perfect movie.
Those lucky motherfuckers. They have box office disaster after another. Then their budgets start doubling and they get worse.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's so weird that like these are three movies that we all I think all of us agree are great. Why didn't they perform better? Did
They're too weird.
the studios or the marketing teams not market them because they didn't think they were going to be big, or
I mean, they are.
is there just
last-
not like, is it too niche, or like why?
the latter two are R-rated. That's something to consider. And yeah, I don't know if, I mean, who knows now that Andy Samberg has been on, I almost said Reno 911, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, long enough that maybe he has enough star power that they'll go, we'll give you $40 million and the movie will make $5 million, whatever they do next. But
I think that's it.
yeah.
They're not movie stars. They're internet
Yeah.
and TV stars. That's my theory.
man,
Well, after Palm Springs, Andy Samberg might be more of a movie star, but we'll
Maybe.
get to that. Popstar follows childhood friends, kind of like their own personal story. Connor, Owen, and Lawrence, who find fame and fortune after forming the hip hop group the Style Boys. So they're kind of this like pop star group. And then Connor, played by Andy Samberg, he launches a solo career, kind of as like, it's supposed to be, I guess, more of a Justin Bieber-ish kind of, pop. He's basically a very gimmicky performer. And so the movie is, there's a documentary that's being filmed around his life while his second album is about to come out. But then, of course, he has this big fall from grace, and that's what it's following. The thing about this movie is it was produced by Judd Apatow, so this is kind of like their first working relationship, as far as I know, with him and Rodney Rothman. And I'm wondering if that's where sort of a lot of these cameos came from, because there are a billion cameos in this movie. Like Mariah Carey, Ringo Starr, Questlove, Justin Timberlake, 50 Cent, Michael Bolton, Usher, Weird Al. Those are only the musical cameos, because then there are a ton of people who are also characters in the movie, like Sarah Silverman, Joan Cusack, Maya Rudolph, Chris Redd, Tim Meadows. As far as I'm concerned, if you put Tim Meadows in anything, he's going to be one of the best parts of it.
Yeah.
Criminally underrated.
That's why that budget's so high, is that cameo budget.
I don't know if they
Yeah.
got paid at all. I
don't know.
I think a lot of them also might just be fans of Lonely Island. If they're not fans of Lonely Island, they're at least fans of like, hey, you know, the Dick in the Bucks guys, or I'm on a boat. They're making a movie and they're like, oh my God, I want to do something with those guys. They're so funny. And that's how you get those people typically. But I mean, especially Justin Timberlake, obviously, who's also
Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, he's
Sorry.
insanely funny in that movie. I know. Yeah, represent your weird patch of grass. Okay, thank you.
Memphis, Tennessee boy. He's our hometown hero. Keep going.
Cool.
Justin Timberlake has this little like cameo as their tour chef, but then it also pays off later, and it's a great payoff. There's so much in this movie. It feels like a movie that's longer than 90 minutes because it just has so much. When you look at all the found footage and stuff that they're recreating, the archival footage, and then all the musical numbers that are in it, like you can go and rewatch it and get so much out of it. The songs that they make are also hilarious, like the equal rights stuff, where Andy Samberg's he's singing about, you know, of course everybody should have equal rights. They should be able to marry whoever they want. But then he keeps saying that he's not gay.
Yeah.
Like he's like, you know, he's like, let people marry who they want. I'm not gay. Like it's like the perfect, you know, lampooning of that sort of pop star that has those kind of disingenuous songs. I could list them all. They're so good.
I mean, I think that's something that they've always been so good at, which is kind of emulating musical styles and executing on them really, really well. And like, I personally used to loathe musical comedy because most of it that I experienced was someone with just like a guitar going, here is the setup and here is the joke. And here is the setup and here is the joke. Like, that was musical comedy to me. But they really took it to a whole new level where it's like the song structure is solid. You know, it's an actual song. It's just not like a foil for these iambic pentameter goofs. Like, they're really so good at musical comedy.
Yeah.
And
it's hard enough
rapping
to
and
make
singing and
that's the thing is
stuff.
just on their own, like the song, it's not in the movie, but the Captain Jack Sparrow song they do with Michael Bolton, like the normal song they're trying to make sounds like something you would hear in the it's a bump and grind, like hot and heavy, like you know, I'm fucking twice guy, you know, it's all these great lyrics. You're like, oh my God, like they're writing like an actual song. And then it keeps cutting back to Michael Bolton wanting to sing about the Pirates movies. It's like to have that next level of being able to say, this is what makes a good song, but this is what makes good parody. And then also to make your humor come out through music is so hard. And God, they're amazing at it. They are basically next gen Weird Al as far as I can tell. Like, they're just so great at what they do.
And there's a Michael Bolton cameo in this movie because at the end he performs a song with the Style Boys, Incredible Thoughts, and like the lyrics. I gotta look up the lyrics because it's actually like a really like you're saying, like it's a like well structured and pretty song, but the lyrics are incredible thoughts, incredible minds. I'm so overwhelmed. How did my brain conceive them? It's like the hook, and it's so silly.
That one reminded me of the Insane Clown Posse, like Magnets. Like, there's so much magic in the world song.
I just like that one of the tracks is called "Finest Girl," parentheses the Bin Laden song.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Which is like actually a really catchy song too. Yeah, there's just so much in this movie. My favorite bit out of the whole thing is CMZ, which is the fake TMZ.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
that they
it's
do.
It's Will Arnett, right?
Yeah, it's Will Arnett, and then like Chelsea Peretti and Eric Andre and a few other people they're huddled in that bay where they're, you know, doing the daily briefings for it's supposed to be like the TMZ team, but like they're just cackling, and then they all have these like handheld 7-Eleven cups that keep getting bigger and bigger, and then like some of them have them all taped together, and it's like it's so brilliant, like it's just so spot on.
It's all Will Arnett's like fake laughing. It's just when like Eric Andre's just screaming, like they're all trying to out scream each other. God, it's I'm watching it right
Tim
now.
Meadows.
It's making me laugh.
Chris Red's character in it is
Oh,
hilarious.
He plays what's his name? Something to look it up.
Yeah, I'm looking it up too.
Sorry.
Hunter.
Oh yeah, Hunter the something.
Yeah, it just says Hunter.
Oh, Hunter. I thought it was like Hunter the something. But
Might be.
But yeah, he's like his pranking thing where he loves to do pranks on people, and then he pranks Connor and like he's has him exposed completely naked on stage, but then Connor has his penis tucked between his legs, and so it's like a whole thing. The media storm around it, and he's like, "No, I have a penis, but I can't show you my penis. But like, I need to show them my penis to prove to them I have a penis." And like, it's great. The subtle stuff, like Tim Meadows, his character plays Connor's manager, but we learned that he had a long time ago a career in the music industry where he was the fourth tacit performer in Tony.
Oh yeah.
But
Tony
he got
Tone.
kicked out of the
Right.
yeah, he got kicked out of the band because he wanted to style it as his name having a question mark after it, so it'd be Tony, like, and it's just such a dumb but good joke.
Yeah. There's Bill Hader's like 1 second joke where he's really into flatlining.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
He's like in the movie Flatliners, and it's just
Yeah.
these dumb, obscure references that people like us get, but obviously the movie going public just completely miss because they're like, who cares about Flatliners? And then the Flatliners remake comes out, and that bombs too. I think there's a connection. I don't know.
I believe it. The box office poison.
well, as far as sorry, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, jumping ahead a little bit, but Popstar to me is the good version of what or I shouldn't say good version, but the unauthorized Bash Brothers experience that you made me watch, Elise. Like, I really did enjoy it, but I wish it had more structure like Popstar, whereas, because you get songs every 10 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that, and it makes it easier to digest, whereas if you get 10 music videos in a row, I thought that was that thing's weakness.
And yeah, we'll talk about that because like I think it's really fun, but I don't think it's without like flaws.
Right.
Like kind of
it
what
is
you're
fun.
describing. But yeah, to me, Popstar is like the pinnacle of these guys showing like
I
this
can
is
see
what we
that.
can do. And they wrote and directed the whole thing. So it's like
Yeah, it is
amazing.
like The Lonely Island, the album, the movie, and it was like it should have
Yeah.
been.
Right.
I wish it had been more successful because of what it was. Where it's like, it's if you're a Lonely Island fan and you like their stuff, and you're like, imagine them making a movie. Like, oh my god, fantastic! And then it doesn't, kill. It's like it almost should have been kickstarted or something like that. So it's like, it's just for the people who want it. But
Yeah,
they're
those
still-
$20 million should have been kickstarted.
I mean, I don't know. What did Super Troopers get? Like $2 billion or whatever. I don't know. I think they got 15 million. But I'm saying like maybe they just make movies for the people who want it. But like maybe I don't know. After Palm Springs, I know we'll talk about that. But I'm curious what their future is going to be because they definitely seem like they're evolving. But maybe they're not going to go through the Hollywood system that they've been trying to break through in the last 10, 15 years.
And you're on the money with that because then after that they sort of start getting into streaming and creating content exclusively for streaming platforms, like 2017's Michael Bolton's Big Sexy Valentine's Day special, in which Santa tells Michael Bolton that he needs 75,000 new babies by Christmas to meet toy supply. So Michael Bolton hosts a sexy telethon to get the world to start making love. And this was like a hybrid. This is a Netflix exclusive. It was a hybrid production, kind of with Scott Aukerman and his people, who I really like too. So like Akiva Schaffer and Scott Aukerman co-directed it, and then Akiva was writing it with Scott Aukerman and his team, and the whole Lonely Island crew acted in it. But yeah, after they did Jack Sparrow with Michael Bolton on SNL, they like just kept in touch with him, and they say that they go to lunch with him whenever he's in town, and they have this like really weird relationship with him. But this is just sort of like, it's one of those, kind of like the Bill Murray Netflix special where it's like, let's parade out all kinds of stars, make it feel like one of those old, Dean Martin-esque telethons, but for millennials and Gen Z, where it's weird and irreverent, and I watched it once and then I was kind of like, okay, and I really have no major retention for it. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have seen it.
I didn't. Once again, like, I never know what these guys are doing. Like, I didn't know Palm Springs was a thing. I didn't know the Michael Bolton, even the original music video. I didn't know that was a thing. I know. It's weird. Like, I don't know if it's like there's like I just don't get shared on this stuff, or but like I didn't know. If you see this on Netflix, I probably just seeing it being presented to me, there's no way I know Lonely Island's associated with it. Probably because it's Michael Bolton, who my thought is, oh, they like that Jack Sparrow music video. Let's get him to do something, not knowing Lonely Island is associated with it. But I will watch it now. I promise. Stop yelling at me, Elise. And I see your messages. I will do it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. More so for Michael Bolton. Because I guess he was self-conscious about a little bit of the hair jokes they were making in this, but they were like, Michael, we got to make the hair jokes. You know, you're known for your hair. And he said, okay. Yeah. When they talk about the origins of this idea, Jorma says, we started talking about his Jack Sparrow character and making a comedy special as if it's from the version of Michael Bolton, very confident, sexy, and confident in how sexy he is. Just our dream of who Michael Bolton was without ever having met him. Then that led us to Valentine's Day, which would obviously be his holiday, which is pretty fun. Yeah. I do think like it's like this seems like it might not push the needle, but it's like a fun thing that people enjoy and probably has a better life on Netflix than if they did try to do anything else theatrically with this.
I'm a huge fan of the Disney's Hercules soundtrack. Featuring music by Michael Bolton. That's my entire
Go the Distance
experience. Yeah, that song rules.
Michael Bolton. I mean, my experience with him was the reoccurring joke on Office Space, where there's the nerd guy who works there whose name is also Michael Bolton, and he's really upset about it. That is still a funny joke, no matter how many times they reuse it. Like in 30 Rock, when there's the character named Wesley Snipes. And he's just a very uptight British guy, and he's just very upset that there are two Wesley Snipes, and he can't come to terms with it. I'm like, it's still a funny joke. I never get sick of that. But then, the Michael Bolton, the Jack Sparrow thing happened, and like that's how you do a joke. It's just, hey, Mike, hey, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Listen to it. Real sexy hook. By the way, have you seen those pirate movies? They're great. Yeah, okay, cool. And it's like you already know what they set it up so quickly, but it's like their joke delivery and everything else, like their setups are so well done. And then getting someone who is like Michael Bolton's a straight guy, it's like he's the ultimate like straight man, but he seems okay just kind of poking fun at himself.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. There's someone else that's in the next movie that's kind of like that, which is 2017's Brigsby Bear, which was a little bit of more of an indie, and it also feels a little bit like. Probably not. I'm probably romanticizing it, but it feels a little bit like it's one sketch group passing a torch onto another sketch group that went from internet to making movies, because the movie was written by Kyle Mooney of Good Neighbor, but then the Lonely Island crew stepped in to help produce. Also, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, who, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, they're on that producing team.
Clone High.
And, one of the Good Neighbor guys got to direct it, and Andy Samberg acts in it. This movie, and it has a lot of heart, I'd say, more than it is, laugh out loud funny. It's a little bit more of a, poetic movie. But the person I was thinking of is Mark Hamill, who, I guess later in life, he's gotten a little bit sillier in his career. But there's definitely some silly stuff to him in this movie.
I'm going to go out and say I don't like this movie. Oh, sorry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't like it. I think me and you talked about it, John, because you love it, I want to say, and I don't like it.
I either love things or hate things. I have no middle ground.
All right. So I don't like it. You love it. Let's fight.
I enjoyed it. I think Elise is right that it has more heart than comedy. There were some funny, there were some funny aspects to it, but it's much more like this weird, off-the-wall kind of drama, I think. There were a lot of times in it where I felt so uncomfortable, I actually had to stop watching it because I thought it was going to go down a
One
different
Direction?
road. Yeah, One
Yeah.
Direction, but then it was like, oh no, this is more heartfelt.
I know exactly what you're describing because that's how I felt watching it.
Yeah, like I got so nervous. It's just like, oh.
Yeah, because the basic premise is that Kyle Mooney plays this guy, James, who lives with his parents like somewhere out in Arizona or something like that. And he learns that, and I don't know if I should say this, kind of a spoiler. So if you plan on watching the movie, it's a little bit of a spoiler. But he learns that he's actually, the people he thinks are his parents actually kidnapped him. Who are Mark Hamill and I'm not sure who plays. Is it Michaela Watkins that plays his mother?
Yeah.
I don't
remember.
And they're actually his kidnappers. So he's confronted with this new reality. He's been like locked in their house, unable to like go out into the world. There's this TV show called Brigsby Bear, which Mark Hamill has been making for him for the last 25 years of his life as kind of a sedative to keep him like locked in this world. And he learns that one, Brigsby Bear, this serial television show, isn't real. And then he learns that like there's this whole other world outside. And so it's like kind of really sad from that perspective. Yeah. Like you're saying, John, like, and I kept thinking like, oh no, this is going to get a lot darker than it's already presenting itself. But it kind of ends up sweet. And yeah.
One thing about Mark Hamill, I think he's one of those people that kind of got stuck as Luke Skywalker. Like he was so big as known as this one character, it was hard for him to kind of break out. But he's had a long career in voice acting. That was something I learned kind of. Yeah, he's the Joker. He was a bunch of characters in Powerpuff Girls, like Mojo Jojo, I think, and a few other characters.
Maybe.
He really, like, in terms of his body of work, he's done a lot more. He has a lot larger range, I think, than people realize. And yeah, I really just enjoy him as a character actor. He's great. And so he was really great in this where, I mean, not a character actor, but really just playing a character you don't usually see him as. And he blew it out of the park. Love this movie, Ryan.
Ryan, why you hate it?
Missed opportunity in my mind. I love Kyle Mooney and the Good Neighbors sketches and stuff, and I kind of was just like perplexed about why that they took their big shot on this movie, when they get a budget to make something. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you write a script and you're like, the concept of this is really weird and stuff, and like that'll translate to when you watch the scenes, but it kind of doesn't. I feel like it kind of comes off as, like you're saying, really kind of uncomfortable sometimes, and I don't know what if that was all intention to kind of. I guess maybe he just wanted to make his first movie not to be a straight comedy, wanted it to be this kind of weird indie movie, like you're saying. But yeah, it just didn't work for me on any level. I kind of got what they were going for, and I've seen I was kind of raised on some of that because it's like really like they're hardcore Christians, aren't they? Or aren't they like, it's been forever since I saw this. Aren't they religious fanatics that kidnapped them? Am I remembering that wrong? Either way, I feel like I'd seen some of that kind of shows that they're trying to ape with Brigsby Bear, like the weird production values, and so I got the references for that, but I still just didn't really love the movie.
I got just like such a strong indie vibe, I think, from the trailer that it turned me off to it, not knowing who was associated with it. It's like how, I don't know, if you see the trailer for Garden State, you kind of roll.
I mean, that's exactly what the movie I was thinking of when you said strong.
Yeah, and like you're either 17 and going like, oh my god, the movie that found me, or you're 27 going,
it's so deep.
Yeah, pretentious garbage. But depending on where you are in your life, and Brigsby Bear, I think it gave me the sort of pretentious vibe to it. But so I mean, once again, I am judging a book by its cover, and usually if Ryan hates something, I know I'm going to like it. So I'm going to I'll check it out, I promise.
Adam.
Yeah, Ryan.
It was just kind of a sweet movie.
You better like what I like.
Yeah. It was sweet and sad.
Greg Kinnear really helps circle around the sweetness on it by the end.
Another actor who we've forgotten. Sorry.
Oh, no, not Greg Kinnear.
No, I know he's great.
He's great in Ghost Town.
He's great in everything. I mean, I just feel like
he's as good as it gets.
Sadly, you're right. the movie where he's an angel. I don't know, forget. Or something. He doesn't have to give mail to people. Let's keep moving along, Elise.
Dear God.
That's the one, dear God.
Moving on to something else that Ryan hates here. 2019, the unauthorized Bash Brothers experience.
I don't
This
hate
is a
this.
Netflix.
This one flew under
I'm
my
just
radar.
joking.
I didn't even know it
This is a
existed until this week.
Oh, a Netflix original. It's 30 minutes long, and it's the Lonely Island spoofing the careers of Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire back in the 80s when they were the notorious Bash Brothers.
Wait, they had a
and-
music carear?
No.
It's when they were like hitting homers constantly and
Yeah.
juicing, and they were the Bash Brothers in the media. And the way that Andy Samberg and Akiva Schaffer, who wrote it and developed it, worked on it, was that just over the year, that they worked on it. Whenever they had time, they would just randomly like work on a song, and they ended up writing like 10 or 11 songs, and then they were like, you know what? Let's make it as a visual poem. So it's really like a long music video, kind of stitched together, all these things. And when you watch it, because I had watched it when it came out, James and I watched it, and then I rewatched it this week for this. And when I was watching it again, knowing that it was so low budget, and they actually like just went and stole a lot of the shots. Like, because I read an interview, they were like, oh, we just would go and jump out of our cars in Griffith Park and shoot this scene, or we would shoot this thing, by the side of the freeway. And I was watching it again, and I was like, oh, they're just shooting this shit wherever. Like, this is just a crazy madcap
Classic
thing.
Lonely Island.
Do
God,
you know
I
Mike
forgot
Diva?
I saw this. This is great.
Do you know Mike Diva,
No.
Elise? He's
Mike
a
Diva's
director.
looked
great.
He's fucking
looked him
awesome.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a perfect example of just, making do with what you got. And he's like, can make just amazing, high quality videos with no budget, basically.
You've
And
probably
they look
seen
amazing.
a number of his videos. He's
Yeah.
definitely had a lot of kind of blow up viral videos. He's classic YouTube.
Classic YouTube. He made that funny Trump Korean Trump parody video. Did you see that, Elise? I'm not describing this well.
I don't think so.
I think his first video back in the day was where they were in college or something, and they just dressed up as like a dude with a curly mullet, and his friend played saxophone, and they would just bust into like college classrooms in the middle of lectures, and he'd stand up on a table and play Kenny
G.
and the teacher would be like, get the fuck out of here. That was
and
their
then
first
Hillary
video,
yeah.
and then Mike Diva got really into visual effects and stuff, and like just started making
cool.
cooler and cooler looking stuff, and really established like a visual style.
Oh, you're talking about the
Yeah,
Japanese
that-
Donald Trump video?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
And the Hillary Clinton meme queen one is pretty great too.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, like it looks incredible, and that's why I kept as I'm watching this, like I'm super into baseball and Mike McGuire and Jose Canseco, the juiced scandal and stuff, and so I was like psyched that this is such a weird high concept
It's so
project
weird. Yeah.
that I just kind of the whole time I'm sitting there going like, this is so well done. I just wish it had a better structure where it made more sense of why I'm watching this, because it makes sense that you just said it's like a tone poem, because that's kind of what the vibe gives off.
Yeah.
He's floating into the abyss
And
in the water
Yeah, the first time I saw it, it was exhausting. And then I
Yeah.
thought going back and watching it, a year later again, and knowing it, I was like, oh, this won't feel as exhausting. But no, it felt exhausting again, because it's just 30 minutes of like moving to the next, moving to the next, moving to the next song. And everything's just like manic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop. And
they don't
it's really,
explain
really
what
cool.
it is. They don't explain
what
what
anything
the fuck
is.
is happening or what you're watching.
And it gets surreal, it gets grounded, it chills, and then it picks up again. And like my favorite part of it is there's this one
the Kathy Ireland
cameo. No, it's the one with like Maya Rudolph.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember her name, but she's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They're in the parking lot of like a 7-Eleven, and there's this like kind of gang of girls that like start intimidating them, and they're like, move your butts. They just sing this song they sing at them about moving their butts, like move your butt, move all 4 parts of your butt, like, and it's so stupid and silly, but like I thought it was.
I remember seeing this and I thought I think I was sick. So I think it was I thought it was a fever dream that I had. It's so weird seeing clips of this thing and just being like, oh God, I live this. This is, Yeah, I forget.
Yeah,
I forget. I didn't realize how much of Mike Diva's stuff I've actually seen. That's the crazy part.
yeah.
Like, he did the
He's
left right
collabed
video.
with Corridor Digital a lot too.
That makes sense. He did the video "I'm on Crack," which is the mindless self-indulgence side project that Jimmy Urine did.
Yeah.
It's 2 minutes of insanity. It's like came out 9 years ago.
I have a side question for Ryan. Every
What
time
up?
you were talking about watching the Bash Brothers, you were looking up. Did you sit on your floor when you watched this and you looked up at the screen?
Do you have a
the
poster
TV
of
is
them on
on the
your
wall. The TV's on the wall.
So whenever you're watching stuff, you're craning your neck up.
No, I'm
Just
laying
a
back on
little-
the couch, drinking
Okay,
my
all right.
Corona, and just watching, hanging out.
I just love
Laying
getting
back. I
glimpses into your life.
There's a
Ryan.
nice little ottoman. Put my feet up on it. I
Okay.
got some chips.
Sounds pretty comfy.
Pretzels.
I
Anyway.
thought you had a poster of Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco, and
You were just cherishing it.
looking at it from your childhood up there.
I mean, they hate each other in real life. I was expecting them to get, or Mark hates him, and so I was expecting them to get to that point. And they kind of touch on it, but they really don't. Like, if you don't know that story or baseball, I'm sure you're
glean
just like,
nothing of
what,
it from
yeah,
this.
What is
Yeah.
what is this that I'm watching? They should have had some little interstitials that kind of, like that interview segment at the beginning, maybe a little more better bookend to really make this make sense. But it's great still.
I think for a 30-minute thing that's on Netflix that is included in my subscription, I'm like, okay, I appreciate this. But yeah, if it was 90 minutes, maybe I'd be like, this is too much.
If I had to pay more
But
money
I agree
for
with
it,
you.
then yeah, but it's free. So
Their final offering that just came out, and this was it's a little bit different because they didn't direct it, they didn't write it, but they were all producing it. Andy Samberg was an executive producer, and he also starred in it. Is 2020's Palm Springs that just came out on in July on Hulu.
instant
It's like
classic.
a massive take for Hulu. It set the opening weekend record by netting more hours watched over its first 3 days than any other film in the platform's history.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so while we don't really know like how it would compare financially to past Lonely Island stuff, which have typically been failures, I think this is a huge success.
Do you think that is in part to, like, someone mentioned earlier that Andy Samberg has now been on, like, cable television for the past 5-6 years or whatever? Or however,
No.
I guess 3 or 4 years? Because, like, I feel like SNL and Lonely Island and that stuff is kind of the niche comedy scene where, or not niche comedy, but, like, it's the comedy scene. Whereas being on a huge comedy that's on, what was it, NBC, that's where it's really hitting the millions and millions of people throughout the country. I feel like, and kind of making him kind of more of a public figure.
Maybe.
I think he was
I-
handed a golden script, and he was lucky enough to play the golden part in the golden script.
Yeah, that's tough too because like we've talked about this before. Name the main actor, the main guy from How I Met Your Mother. What is the actor's name?
Neil Patrick
Isn't
Harris.
it Josh something?
So
Josh Siegel.
You have proven my point. He was one of the. It was on a show that was seen by apparently millions of people every week, and we can't remember his first name, and we don't know what he's been in since. So,
But Jason
there-
Segel, Neil Patrick Harris, it was launching pads, I guess a relaunching pad for Neil Patrick Harris. But
his name was Josh Raynor, I believe, or Radner, or something like that. But
Well,
regardless,
it gave
sorry, go ahead.
Kristen Milioti, who's in this movie.
Yeah,
Shining
she's the
Star.
mom. She's
Shining
the mother
bright.
in the mom in that movie.
She's the mother, Adam.
Oh, I didn't get that far. I'm just saying that like I always wonder that where I'm like, oh, someone who's really big on television, they're trying to transition to a movie career. Didn't really work for Matt LeBlanc, like those types of people where it's like you're part of an ensemble and that's what makes it work. So like I don't know if that works. If anyone goes, oh, I'm going to check out Palm Springs because of this other unrelated show. I'm not sure. Just because network TV is it. I assume most of the people who are watching it are dying on their couch. There's a 50-50 chance that they're going to fall asleep and not wake up based on their age.
I think when people are watching or getting told to watch this movie, it's because of hey, go watch this hilarious film, and not the new Andy Samberg is out on Hulu. You should watch it. It's like I think that it just has it's just one of those it caught on. It had good word of mouth because it's amazing. It's so funny and the script's great and
pretty good timing too.
Endless classic. Yeah, good timing. And then, it probably does help that Andy Samberg's a name, but he's not, like we said, none of his movies have made money at all. So I think he got the right script with the right cast and the right director, and he's the right guy for it.
I think the movie didn't cost too much to make, but then Hulu and Neon paid $17.5 million.
That's awesome.
Making it the highest sale from a Sundance film.
And
69
cents.
And 69 cents.
Yeah.
By 69 cents.
They beat it. They beat it by
sale.
69. They beat the most. Yeah, the other movie was bought for 17.5,
awesome.
and so they paid 69 cents more just so they could beat that record because they're children. Because this industry is run by literal man children or women children.
And the basic premise, if you haven't seen it, is that Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti's characters are stuck in a time loop at a wedding in Palm Springs, and they develop a romance as they're living the same day over and over. It's like Groundhog Day with a play or two.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I feel
like everyone on this call enjoyed it.
It feels almost like if you could make a spin-off or make a sequel to Groundhog Day, right? This is how you would do it, and it sort of acknowledges the movie, sort of, not really, but I think it's aware that it's not an original concept.
Yeah.
But that's not it. It's just the frame in which it's presented, right?
Yeah.
And then
But
what do you
also
do with
think
that?
I sort of feel like Groundhog Day has become a genre unto itself, where it's like, oh, you're not copying the original movie now. If you do this concept, you're just doing a genre, which is someone trapped in a daily loop. Because there's Russian Doll on Netflix, which I really loved. Essentially
same thing.
Groundhog Day premise too.
They did it in X-Files. They did an episode of that with a bank robbery as well.
Happy Death Day.
Something
Death
I
Day.
think that I saw a number of journalism pieces on this, but I think they were right in that this movie almost kind of taps into what thematically a lot of us are going through in quarantine, that it just seems like the same day over and over, and so maybe that also struck a chord with viewers as well, and it almost, and I mean, they couldn't have planned that because it was shot and filmed before all this happened, but it just kind of came out at the right time to where it actually it was much more relatable than it would have been previously.
Well, we talked about this. We talked about this last week about how Tenet is such a sacred film, and that it's almost too good to come out on streaming, and then you have this strange hierarchy. But I think also that's the other thing too, is we're sort of craving new content that I every time someone recommends anything for me on Netflix, they're like, oh, Netflix just put out this new thing. It's okay. I haven't heard, not since I think Dark Crystal has anything been like, you got to check this out. It's really good. Everything's been so kind of subpar. And then Palm Springs comes along and it's like, oh, this is actually good. This is something I would have seen in the theater. But then there's that weird stigma. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to wonder if also because there hasn't been new media coming out in the last 4 months, save what we're getting on streaming, we're all being a little bit more easygoing and accommodating. So we're not being as critical maybe to some stuff that we're like, oh, that's good because it's kind of what we have.
Mm-hmm.
I have my one complaint of the film is the ending, right? Spoiler alert. I just thought it was kind of just.
Well, don't spoil it.
Oh, we can't.
Unless we
can't.
Well, I guess if we want to talk about spoilers,
at least give people more than a 4-second warning.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, and here's a spoiler.
3.
Spoiler.
So it just seemed pretty convenient, kind of everything kind of wraps up she just basically learns quantum physics, and which is funny in a way.
That's
but
something you could do if you had infinite time. That's the thing.
I don't know. It was cool.
Who knows?
It was
maybe
just kind of
yeah, maybe she was doing that for 10 years,
Yeah. You see it as a montage, but they could have been there for eternity.
But it's just kind of all right, she has this idea. They test it. They sent the goat through. Come with me. Okay. And then they're in the pool. And then it's over. It was, for such a great movie, I wanted a more epic ending. But that's
That
just
is kind
me.
of a plot hole as
I'm
well.
being too critical, like Elise said, too critical
No,
during quarantine.
I will chime in there, and then I'll let John gush about the movie because I know he's seen it at least 3 times.
That's why I saw it.
I share your sentiment in that I also felt like the ending didn't give me what I wanted from it, mostly from the perspective of there were a lot of great characters introduced that I didn't feel like got their due in terms of storylines. Like J.K. Simmons, I know it's supposed to be poetic that, when he goes out to visit him and J.K. Simmons says, well, I'm reliving this, it's a beautiful day and I'm reliving it again and again. But there's still something that was a little bit sour to me about, they get out and potentially J.K. Simmons is stuck in that. It feels a little bit too sad for a movie like
they put
this.
a button
We as the
in
audience-
for that.
Yeah.
Where she called him and left a message.
Yeah, they take care of it.
Yeah.
true.
Did you not see
you
that
not-
part? That's where the plot hole is.
Oh.
I guess
Did
it's
she
kind of
leave-
a
did-
post-credits. It basically...
Does she leave a message and tell him to do what they did?
So
He
that
comes to the
happens right
wedding.
before that woman
Yeah.
comes up. Yeah, and she's like, I know you're going away soon. Right before that, she's leaving a message on her phone going, hey, yeah, so if you get this, call me back. And
I didn't
then,
know that happened.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
at the end, J.K. Simmons comes to the party and Andy Samberg's there and he goes, hey, so this thing your girlfriend was talking about, it's a pretty crazy idea. Do you think it'll work? And Andy Samberg doesn't recognize him and J.K. Simmons goes, oh, it did work. But here's
Wait,
the
this
thing.
is all after the credits?
Yeah.
It was like
Well,
after
like
the
mid-
first 4 credits. It's like directed
Mid-credits.
by, written by, and then that happens.
Man,
I know you went right
you
to the
just-
next
I turned it
movie,
up.
at least.
You just ran at. You said perfect movie. Don't want any more. I don't want to see Nick
Do
Fury
they,
show up.
But
do
here's
they
the thing.
reconcile?
Here's
do they
the thing.
reconcile that Camila Mendez, her husband, is a cheating douche?
No, they didn't.
No, I mean it was. I mean they did, but it was her basically. She gives that speech and then says, don't fuck this up. And then he's like, okay. And she
I
gives
think
him,
the way
like,
they
daggers and-
reconciled
yeah.
that, and maybe it wasn't satisfying, but the way they reconciled it was in the one flashback where she goes in and she's like, "We're terrible people," and he's in the shower, and he seems so absolutely remorseful. Like that combined with her giving the speech is kind of. I mean, it's not saying it's a satisfying tie-off, but I felt like that was how they tied it off. Was that he actually did feel like he made a huge mistake, and he's not just a recurring cheating bastard. But here's the thing: plot hole. When she tested on the goat disappeared from the time loop. But when J.K. Simmons came back, Andy Samberg was still there. He'd just lost his memory. What happened? Shouldn't have Andy Samberg and her disappear from the loop?
I
Just
see from
saying.
his loop. Maybe it's alternate reality. J.K. Simmons is now in a different.
My
so that
mind
happened
hurts
then.
now.
Well, that was my thought was they sort of touch on it, but they say, multiverse theory. My thought was every time they die or anything bad happens or whatever, that splits off into its own parallel reality where there now is a reality where they killed
they're
someone
dead.
else. Yeah, they're dead or something like
Yeah.
that. So it almost behooves them they're just stuck in this one moment. They should live life where they can just fall asleep so that version of them can live on because they may have actually ruined the lives of someone else. That's a much darker ending, but that is sort of like something you can take away from the movie.
I mean, that's the idea of the multiverse, that it's a giant ocean of splitting paths. Or not even splitting paths, that just everything exists all the time at the same time. But, yeah.
Also, the kid from Road to Perdition is the cheating husband, I guess, fiance.
I thought he was in Teen Wolf or something.
He was also in Teen Wolf, but it's funny because the first credit of his that comes up is Road to Perdition. I'm like, who the fuck? Oh yeah, it was the kid. Holy shit! Road to Perdition's a great movie. I don't know. I mean, Ryan likes it. Or he doesn't like it. I forget.
It's Sam Mendes. It's probably his worst movie, but yeah, it's good.
Also a great role from
Wait, Revolutionary Road?
James
you like
Bond.
that more?
You're right. Yeah, Road to Perdition's better than that one.
Thank you. Jarhead? I think you did Jarhead.
Jarhead's way better.
But the actor who's James Bond?
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig plays the
Pierce Brosnan.
creepy ass villain in that.
Yes.
That was
What movie are
why
we talking about now?
Road to Perdition.
Sorry.
That was why
Tom-
when they announced him as as James Bond, I was like, that like sociopath from Road to Perdition is going to play James Bond.
Not Layer Cake.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Layer Cake at that point.
Okay. Anyway,
Anyways. Elise?
you okay?
John, I mean, I appreciate that this movie came out when it did because I think it was a really nice like surprise and treat. So I do really like it for that.
For me,
And,
best film of 2020, in my opinion. I'm going to go out here and say it. Hot take.
It's
Give me
Invisible
another-
Man
give me
and
a
Bad
better.
Boys 3. So yeah, you got it.
Exactly. What else is there to choose from?
well, hopefully it will mean people putting Lonely Island on their radar and then they get, $100 million to make Popstar 2. But
Yeah.
I don't know that's going to happen.
I do want to say this is unconnected from Lonely Island, but Adam did say he hasn't been getting recommendations where people say Netflix. It's okay. Here's a great one, Adam, and I'll stand behind this.
Okay.
Dark. It's a
Dark,
German
yeah.
science fiction drama.
He's seen it.
I've seen season 1, yeah.
seen-
But there,
Yeah.
I know
Season
there's two
one
more
was
seasons.
great. Season 2 and season 3 are so much better.
Oh.
They just wrapped it up.
Yeah, they just wrapped it up. Season 3 is the finale. It's the last one. They tied it all up. It's wonderful. It's so
All right.
cool and so mind-bending.
I'll rent it as soon as we're done with this.
It's free with
My
your
recomm-
Netflix subscription.
My
Really? It's
recommendation
free
is
as long as I give
Finders
Netflix money? Sorry, what's that right?
I was just giving you another recommendation. You're lacking your recommendations right now. You need to see
Yeah,
the
no,
documentary Finders Keepers. It's about a man who lost his he couldn't find his severed leg, and he accidentally put it in a barbecue pit that sold at a garage sale, and then the guy who bought it wouldn't give his leg back to him, and they had a years-long
What?
legal battle. True story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
wow.
I gotta watch
Go
that.
watch
Where
that.
do you watch it?
It's on the internet.
You can you
Okay.
can rent it for $3 on YouTube. And I know people
There you
go,
go.
rent a movie from YouTube. Just give them money, however you can, please. It's just $3 ain't bad for a rental on a thing that plays on your toaster. I think it's
Yeah.
fine.
There's also a horror movie called Finders Keepers starring Jamie
Not that
Presley.
one.
Okay.
No.
Oh, Jamie Presley, wow.
Don't watch that.
That was early Margot Robbie, remember?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
I really
picture of
have
them
to go to the
together.
Jack and Jill.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys for diving into the Lonely Island verse with me.
You're welcome.
I hope we get many more great offerings from them in the future. And
Me
thank
too.
you all for watching Filmhaus. Please subscribe and tell your friends about this podcast. And we'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.